So in this video I'm going to show you guys how I made this intro like the X crew in Alight Motion. So let's get started. So here I am in Alight Motion. I'll create a project first. Then to add text, click on the plus icon below and select text. After adding the first word, I'll change the color of the text to white. Then I'll increase the size. And I'll also change the font. If you want to download the font which I'm using here, you can check the description. I'll provide the download link there. Now I will select this layer and increase the duration to 3 seconds. Now we have to move this layer to the center, and to do that select the layer, then select move and transform, and from here you can move it to the center. Now you have to make 3 copies of this layer, so select the layer and select duplicate layer. I will hide the first layer because we don't need that layer right now. Then I will select one of the other 2 layers and change the word. Now select move and transform, and from here move the text below the first one. Now watch carefully how I am adding 3 marks here. Similarly you have to add these 3 marks. So these are the 3 marks which you have to add. It will help us to add keyframes. Now let's add the flickering text effect. So select any of the text and go to effects. Here click on add effects, and inside text you can find text transform. Add this with standard setting. Now here you have to scroll down and change the alpha to 0. Alpha is basically the opacity of the layer. Now make sure this is selected as letter. And here select random order. Now go to the top, and here under range you can find start. Select that and add a keyframe here. Now move to the first mark and here add another keyframe, and here increase the start to 100%. So as you can see here, the letters are becoming visible in a random order. Now we have to do one more thing. Scroll down, and at the bottom you can find this seed option. Select this and add a keyframe. Now move to the first mark and here add another keyframe, and here you have to increase the seed. And this is how you can get the flickering effect. Very simple and easy. Now copy this effect and paste it on the other text. So select the other layer and here go to effects and here paste the effect. Now let's add that X at the center. So select the hidden layer and make it visible. Now I'm going to change this to X. Then we have to increase the size. Then select move and transform and align it at the center. Use these red guidelines to align it at the center. I am also going to increase the size just a little bit. Now we are going to animate this. So select one of the small text. Then select move and transform. And here you have to add a keyframe at the first mark. Then move to the second mark and add a keyframe here. In this keyframe you have to move the text to the left side and don't move it outside the border. Now come at the third mark and here you have to move the text to the top of X like I am doing here. So this is how it should look if you have added the keyframes correctly. So first it will go to the side, then it will come at the top. We have to do the same thing with the other text. So select the other layer and select move and transform. Here at the first mark add a keyframe. Then come at the second mark and add one more keyframe and move the text to the side. Then come at the third mark. Here add a keyframe and move the text below X. Now let me hide the X layer so that you can see how the animation is looking. This animation needs only one more thing. We have to add graphs. So select one of the layer and select move and transform. Here come between the first two keyframes and select the graph editor. Here you have to make a curve like this. Now copy the curve and paste it between the other two keyframes. So you have to paste it between these two keyframes. Then you have to select the other layer and paste the same curve between the keyframes. The animation is looking much better than before. Now select that X layer and come at the first mark and delete the left side. Now make that layer visible and select the layer. Here go to effects and select add effects. Inside mask and key you can find this wipe effect. Add this to the layer. Here select start and come at the last mark. Now add a keyframe. Then select end and add one more keyframe. Now come at the center mark and here add one more keyframe of end and start. Now increase the start to around 50%. If you increase this, half of the text will disappear from one side. Now we have to change the angle because we don't want this to disappear from this angle. Change the angle to 90 degree. Then I'll adjust the start again. I'm keeping it around 46%. Now select end and decrease this. Decrease it to around 50%. Decrease this until only a thin line is left. Now we have to add a graph between two keyframes. So come between the two keyframes and select graph editor. Here I will paste the curve which I have copied earlier. Then select start and paste the same curve. So as you can see here, the graph is not looking that good because it is covering some of the text. So we have to fix it. So again select the graph editor and here I'll try to fix it. Now copy this curve and paste it on the other two keyframes. So select end and here paste the curve. Use the same curve for start and end. So this is looking much better now. Now we are going to add some 3D rotation. So select all these layers. Then group them together. So here is our group. Now there is one problem here. The line is not at the center. So to move it to the center, I'll select the group, then select edit group. And from here I'll select the X layer. Then I'll move it to the center. Before adding those 3D rotations, I'll add some simple zoom and zoom out effect. So for that select the group, then select move and transform. Here select this option. Then add a keyframe at the beginning. Also add keyframes at every mark. I'm going to increase the size at the first keyframe. In the second keyframe, the size will be smaller compared to the first keyframe so that we can get a zoom out effect. In the third keyframe, I'm going to decrease the size a lot more. So it will give us a bounce type of look as you can see here. Let's increase the size just a little bit at the last keyframe. We have to add graph between the keyframes to make the animation more smooth. So select the group and select move and transform. Here select this icon. Then come between the keyframes and make a curve like this. Copy this curve and paste it between the other two keyframes. Now let's add the 3D rotation effect. So select the group and select effect and select add effect. Inside 3D you can find flip layer effect. Add this to the layer. Here select angle and add a keyframe. Now change the angle to -27. Hold this keyframe and move it to the beginning. Now add one more keyframe at the second mark. Don't change anything here. Add one more keyframe at the last mark. And here you have to increase the angle to around 30. Now keep the playhead between these two keyframes and select the graph editor. Here you have to add a curve like this. Now select axis. Oh, but before that again select angle and copy this curve. Now select axis and add a keyframe here. Change this to 1 into +20. Now hold this keyframe and move it to the beginning. Then add a keyframe at the second mark and add one more keyframe at the last mark. Here you have to change the axis to around 320. And here between these two keyframes you have to paste that curve which you have copied earlier. We are almost there and we have to add only few more effects, so let's add them. Select the group and select edit group. We are going to add a glitch type of effect in X. So select the X layer and select effects. Here select add effects and inside distortion and warp you can find this wave warp at the end. Add this to the layer. Inside wave warp you have to increase the spacing. Increase it to around 300 to 400 and you will see some lines in X. Now select magnitude and here if you change this to 0 the lines will disappear, and if you increase it you will see the lines. Now change this to 0 and add a keyframe here when the text opens. Add one keyframe before it and add one keyframe after it. And then if you increase the magnitude at the center one, the lines will come there and then disappear like this. You can now adjust these keyframes according to your needs. So this is how it will look. Now I'll add one more this glitch type of effect at the end. So add 3 keyframes with 0 magnitude and in the center one increase the magnitude and you will get this kind of effect. Now only one more effect is left. We have to add a shake. So select the group and select effects, then select add effects. Inside move and transform you can find this random jitter effect. Add this to the group, then open it and here select magnitude. Now change this to 1 and add a keyframe near the center mark. Then add one more keyframe here and one more keyframe here. Now come at the center one and here increase the magnitude to 500. This will give us a shake near that keyframe. Now you have to add a curve here. So come between these two keyframes and add a graph like this. You can also change the frequency and the seed if the shake is not looking good, and if you want to download the background which I have used in the preview, check the description, I'll provide the download link there. And that is all for this video. Thanks for watching. See you guys in the next video.